Welcome, everybody. This is the breakout session number 1, and it's working on how to start a Catholic Action Team in your parish. I'd like to start by just basking in the beautiful prelude that we've had with the bishop and the ambassador, really setting the stage for us to say it's individuals that make a difference if we're going to solve this climate problem and have our church and our legislature pay attention to us. Starting a Catholic Action Team is certainly a way to do that, and making your action team stronger. The first slide is going to tell you that my name is Steve Coleman, and I am going to do this first introductory part with Roger Ingersoll. I'm a retired engineer and businessman. I've been working with CCL and Catholic Outreach for 6 years. And I'll introduce Roger in a minute when his slides start. So we could have the next slide. And this, there we go. First of all, before we talk about creation care teams, we really ought to say, what is a creation care team? And the aspect of a creation care team is a group of people in the parish, diocese, or religious community that's working to care for our common home. And why is that important? The direction from the Laudato Si encyclical is that we are all called to a life of virtue, which includes protecting God's handiwork. And that is not an optional or secondary aspect of the Christian experience. Our Catholic social teaching tells us to care for the earth and care for the poor. So it's really imperative that we've got to get to work on this action, and the way to do that is with a group of people in our parish. Okay, the next slide is going to say what's the objective of the creation care team. And that objective is very easily to bring Laudato Si to life in the parish. Bishop Stowe gave us really a good overview of some of the highlights of Laudato Si, and there's a lot of really important work to do. The part that's going to be one of the most difficult is that it's a call to conversion in our lives of what we do and how we view creation. One of the big opportunities that the creation care team has is it's to start conversation within the parish. Pope Francis tells us that he would like to enter into a dialogue with all people about our common home. That could be our work within the parish, to start the conversation with all the parish and all of our community. Next slide. How do we get started? And we're going to get a lot more of that in a minute from Roger, but the first is that in the true CCL fashion, we're going to do that by building relationships. We're really not out to sell a product here. We're out about to interrelate with other people and talk about the need for protecting creation, protecting our common home. Within the parish, the first relationship that we need to have fairly good strength with is the pastor. And if you don't have a strong relationship initially with the pastor, you really could interrelate with the other people in your parish that find some strong teammates to start with, to start the conversation, and see what you can do about making relationships with other people like your deacon or your faith formation leader or a parish council member, and then go as a team to talk to the pastor. you'll need the pastor's permission to start a creation care team. However, don't look to increase, don't go in to tell the pastor what to do. Don't give him tasks or assignments. He's got a lot of work to do on his own. Pastor is overloaded. Really what you're looking for is permission to start organizing people about this message from Laudato Si. And make that clear up front to him that what you're looking to do is have permission to go ahead and that you're going to do the work. Your team is going to do the work. Okay, and what's the next slide look like?
Okay, this is my first slide, Steve.
Okay, so let me introduce Roger. This is Roger Ingersoll. He's my co-worker in the Catholic Action Team. Roger is also an engineer, so you're surrounded by engineers for a few minutes. And Roger's done a lot of Catholic outreach. He's good at giving presentations, and he's been very active in helping the Catholic Action Team of CCL. So Roger, please share some of your experience here.
Thanks, Steve. So we're going to now talk about some additional first steps, and that would be to brainstorm with Catholic friends. And so those would be, identify with others that have similar interests, climate change, Catholic social justice issues, and so forth. And you know who they are. And then check into your diocesan resources on their websites. They may have a lot of useful materials related to creation care teams, social justice ministries. I'm in the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston. There's not much on our diocesan site, but you can certainly go to others, like Chicago and Atlanta and Santiago. All have really, really great resources as well. Investigate whether other local parishes in your archdiocese have Care for Creation teams. You can then perhaps attend a meeting, or like during the era of Zoom, you can just do it remotely. And you can also talk to the people who started their Care for Creation team and see what worked and what didn't work. And then become familiar with CCL, the Catholic Action Team, of which Steve and I are members, and then the Catholic Climate Covenant, which you're going to hear all about from Paz later in this presentation. So as with anything, and Steve and I are engineers, so be thorough, do your homework. The one thing is to read Laudato Si. It's a very readable encyclical. It's not like reading something from JP2 that you need a translator. It's a very readable book, and it's free online. You can buy a copy and have a hard copy, but it's free online. Peruse the Catholic response to global warming, and it's written by our very own Steve Coleman, and it's a really great pamphlet. It's about 20-some pages long. And it gives a very good outline and background of the problem and the Catholic response. You can check out, once again, the Catholic Climate Covenant website sources, and you'll be provided these links after the meeting today. We'll be providing, I think, a PDF with all the various links that you can find these resources. And you can view faith-based presentations. The link here is to one that I gave about a year ago, but it was to a creation care team, and it's now received about over 300 views, which for me personally, that means it's gone viral. Okay, then you're going to meet with your priest or key influencer, and you select the best person to talk with your pastor. That may be yourself, or someone that may know him, or maybe yourself with a friend, but just select the best persons to talk with them. Approach a priest using CCL techniques, and we're always respectful, no matter even when we're meeting in Congress. If you don't agree with somebody, you still treat them with great respect. First, thank them for the meeting. You compliment them on a recent parish accomplishment. That might be maybe they paid off the debt, or maybe eliminated styrofoam cups or something like that in the kitchen. Ask his opinion on the climate crisis. I didn't know my pastor's position until I asked him about it. Overview a range of possible ministry goals, solicit feedback. So tell him what you want to do and then get feedback on what he thinks might be things that he'd like to see the team do. Provide him a copy of Steve's booklet. And I think it's a good idea to give him a hard copy. And hard copies can be, Steve will send you one if you simply contact him. And find common ground. So don't go in there with a monologue saying we're going to do this, 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 and this. Get feedback and find out what it is that he thinks will be good ideas within his experience with the parish. And then think about what your asks are going to be. At the end of it, just make sure that you ask, can we have a Care for Creation team, or what do you think about that, etc. And then be patient. It can take a while to get a meeting set up with a pastor. And also after you have your meeting, it can take a while for him to get back to you. So it's not something that happens overnight. You just have to be patient. Simple, realistic goals include a creation care corner. Actually, Andy Pinelli, who's in the Catholic Action Team, I think was one of the people that introduced this into the Chicago Archdiocese, and they now send this out on a weekly basis, and it's something that you can put in your church bulletin, particularly if they've got space, or it can be put on a parish website, and it's something that's provided weekly. Consider educational opportunities like creation care related book studies within the parish. You can have when you do have an initial meeting, or even this is a good idea for a lot of meetings, you can kick off meetings as kind of an icebreaker with Catherine Hayhoe global weirding videos. And they are both educational and entertaining, and they're only typically 6 or 7 minutes long, and they're also great conversation starters. And check out the many options and suggestions available on the Catholic Climate Covenant website, which will be the next presentation. So these are things that we did in the last year in the Woodlands. We worked before the pandemic. This is 2020. We worked with the youth ministry to eliminate the use of plastic bottles. We have a very large, like 500 kids. You can imagine every week they get together. That worked out to be savings of 40,000 plastic bottles a year. And it's a cost saving to the church as well. We had Environmental Defense Fund. We had an executive come talk to us about air pollution and COVID-19, a really interesting talk. Sister Rika, who's going to be in the fourth breakout, her order has a tremendous creation care and sustainability initiatives that are being done in Houston, a great example. We had a presentation from the food bank to figure out how we can help them out. We had En-ROADS, which is a presentation on En-ROADS. It's an educational interactive climate simulator developed by MIT Sloan. And it's a really interesting way. It's interactive, real time, and you can test policies, simulate policy choices like what happens when you plant 1 trillion trees? How does that really impact the temperature over time? And then, as I mentioned, giving personal testimonies or personal presentations. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Roger. I'd like to interject here that if you have questions, please put them in the chat and address them to Ask Me Emily. In Madison, Wisconsin, we've got a fairly mature creation care team, and I'm just going to run through a couple of things that look like what is possible for your care of creation team. One of the goals that we've had and we put forward is that our goal was to bring Laudato Si to life in the parish. One of our medium activities was to install solar collectors and to help with a parish-wide carbon footprint. The interesting thing about the solar collectors, it was a very successful project, and it actually helped to double the number of people that we had involved in the care of creation team. It was a visible action that people could relate to, was tangible. So that was a real help for us. In the next slide, you can see that we also did a lot of work to change the conversation within the parish. We included prayers of the faithful. We included climate wording in many of them. And that's really easy to do because the scripture has a lot of praise for creation. You can talk to your music ministry and get creation kind of songs in the music. and as Roger talked about, the bulletin. All of these actions helped us lead toward advocacy. The ultimate goal, I feel, of getting the parish to talk about climate is really the big solution is to get some legislation to put a price on carbon. You heard a bit about that earlier, but you don't sell it, you talk about it, and you really include presenting the idea. In the next slide, the activities also reached outside of the parish to get to Catholic newspapers, participation in Earth Day fairs, and another building activity for the Care of Creation team was to have Laudato Si studies. We had multi-week studies where people would continue to come back. Some of them were popular enough that we had more people at the second and third meeting than we did at the kickoff, which I'm told is a very odd thing when you're having a multi-week activity. The other thing our parish did is we've helped neighboring parishes start Care for Creation teams. Some parishes are hungry to see it working and come to us to get some advice and maybe give a talk there. I think the next slide is, this is a thank you. Thank you for listening to Roger and I, and it gives me the jump off to introduce Paz. And we're really pleased that Paz can be with us to really share the tools from the Catholic Climate Covenant. She's the manager and she oversees the Care Creation teams and develops educational material. For me, for us right now, we get to see a climate champion here, an unsung hero that has tremendous materials for us. So Paz, welcome. And once again, as you have questions, please enter them into the chat. We'll get to them after her presentation.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Roger, also. Yeah, I'm the program manager for Creation Care Team programs at Catholic Climate Covenant. The Creation Care Team program started right after the publication of Laudato Si in June of 2015. And if you could go to the next slide, please. So at the moment, what the program is about is really to help parishes, schools, and religious communities confront climate change, not necessarily as individuals, but as a group, as Catholics working together to create a sustainable parish, sustainable schools, and sustainable facilities in religious communities. We try to integrate creation care into all aspects of our parish life, school life, religious community life. And very important is also the advocating for faith-informed climate policies. Some people, we need to tell them all the time, we don't just take environmental policies and put our Catholic imprint on it. They really are authentically Catholic thoughts that are for creation care. Next slide, please. So we have tried to make it as easy as possible for folks to be able to start a creation care team in their local group. We ask them first to analyze their community, to find out what are the energies and passions of people in their community, what is the issue that might motivate them the most. Then to start thinking about connecting with your pastor or the pastoral council and find out if there is support there. Also trying to think about the other ministry areas in your parish especially, or in the school, other teachers that might want to be able to connect. One of the things we always tell them is you can't be working kind of like in a vacuum. Connect a lot with your facilities managers, with your social justice ministries, because all of those things, they're going to be impacted and perhaps they might be able to be part of your team. When you do approach the pastor, we provide a one-page handout that you can leave behind, explaining what this creation care team program would be about, what are the implications for the parish or for the school, and sort of like, if you want more information, you can go to the Covenant and see what they're doing. Then we say we need to recruit members. And yep, there's a toolkit for that as well, as you will see. We do provide you with toolkits for all of the aspects of a novice creation care team, and how to connect with the wider community, how to make those connections both within your parish and within parishes around you, so that you can be working together. Next slide, please. At the moment, there are about 400 registered creation care teams in the US. About 80 or 90 of them have given permission to be public on a map. We respect everybody's privacy, so we don't put it up unless somebody gives us that permission. So if you do not see a creation care team in your neck of the woods, you can connect with me and I will tell you who the person to connect with is on a one-on-one. When you register your team, you would go to this website and you would be able to then access the resource library. Next slide, please. So what do we provide you? A once a month email that includes a reflection prayer to get your team started each meeting or for personal use, especially during the pandemic. That has been something people have asked for, some more individual type of prayers. Hands-on activities, things that you can do within 10 minutes, half a day, or longer. Resources, especially for Laudato Si study, theological resources, as well as environmental ones. And sometimes we're able to provide an advocacy ask. We also provide wraparound support. What that means is if you need assistance with something, I am there to help you. Some folks put me in on their minutes and they treat me as an ad hoc extra member of their committee. There's an exclusive Facebook group where you are asked, please share your successes and challenges with other creation care teams. And you get access to a resource library. And if you could go to the next slide, please. And so what do we give you? This is mostly for novice creation care teams. How to get started, a roadmap toolkit, which really walks you through the first year of a creation care team. And we give you the ideas for doing at least one of four things. Something that has to do with education, something that has to do with worship and spirituality, something that has to do with advocacy, and something that has to do with team building. We give you toolkits to recruit, communications, how to talk to folks, how to get your office manager involved at the parish especially, because that's critical. Integrating your work with the work of other parish ministries, especially sometimes youth ministries, because that's where a lot of interest in creation care might be. A bulletin insert, a flyer, and a very important piece called Courageous Conversations for those of you who might not want to be talking about rocking the boat. I don't think anybody on this call might be there, but there are some places where talking about climate change might be seen as way too political, and this helps you guide how to talk about those issues. Next slide, please. And the Covenant also provides resources in two areas. In the programs drop-down menu, you can find there things such as the Earth Day and Feast of St. Francis programs, which are educational programs that you can do in between an hour and a half. Our new youth and young adult mobilization program, which has a director that is working to do outreach and connection with young adults mostly at this time. And under the resources, you did talk a little bit already about the bulletin blurbs that Andy Pinelli put in. You can find those there. You can find homily helps that you can tell your pastor if you want to talk about a creation care issue. It ties those Sunday readings to a creation care issue or connection. Our webinars, which are usually every month. If you need information for prayers and worship, we've got them. So we do ask you, if you become a creation care team, to get really knowledgeable of what are the resources that we have. Next slide, please. Want to talk a little bit about what's coming up. Laudato Si Week is coming up next week. And at that time, the Vatican will be celebrating the 6th anniversary of Laudato Si. On the 25th of May, the Vatican will be soft launching the Laudato Si Action Platform. And it is a platform where parishes, schools, religious communities, Catholic hospitals, universities, any entity in the Catholic world will be able to go and see, how do I embark on a 7-year journey of sustainability? And the goals there are exactly the goals of all creation care teams. And you'll be able to see exactly the footsteps that you would need to take. Having a creation care team in a parish or a school is critical to the success of the Laudato Si Action Platform and for the Catholic world to really step into sustainability. So we're going to be tying a lot of this kind of work to our creation care team materials. And a lot of it will be having advocacy as what they call is community engagement and participatory action. Next slide, please. So if you want to get information about what some creation care teams are doing, we do have a link where you can see about 6 or 7 creation care teams, one of which is Steve's creation care team, with an outline of activities that have been successful to them. This is a really good way to get ideas and to have some cross-fertilization. You like something they're doing, we've got a link there for you to connect with them. So at this point, I think the next slide only has my information if you want to connect with me and just talk to me. And I want to be able to have a lot of time for questions and answers. So I will stop at this point.
Thank you very much, Paz. I think we have all been pretty long-winded, used up much of our time, but let's check with Emily to see what kind of questions there might be in the chat.
Yeah, hi everyone. We've had a lot of great questions. There's so many. One of them, we've gotten quite a few requests to put Steve and Roger's contact information back up. Steve, several people are interested in copies of your pamphlet. So if you all could share that again, that would be helpful. Maybe people can write it.
One thing is we will be providing a document afterwards that will have that information in it, but I'll put it up again.
Okay, fantastic.
And we do have it on the Covenant site as well.
All right, so this seems like a great opportunity to work with young people. What advice do you all have for getting youth involved with creation care teams?
I think we'll turn that one over to Paz. She lights up with this question.
Yes, we did realize that this is an issue that was important to many young Catholics. And finding a way for them to bring their voice to the table was incredibly important. So we did create a new program of youth and young adult outreach. Anna Robertson is our new director for that program, and Anna at CatholicClimateCovenant.org would be her email. She is in the process of really having conversations mostly with young adults at this point. We're going to start with that group and try to find where that community wants to go and how they want to express their interest as Catholics in this arena. We are having a conference in July, the Laudato Si in the US conference, and there will be a working group that will present the steps forward at that point. Absolutely critical to get the youth and young adult voice out. They do this in their schools. They know this information. They sometimes wonder, where is my church on this? And so we really need to be able to say, your church is with you on this, and you are the leaders of this movement. It's not just us at the Covenant, but these young adults and youth that are interested, they will be taking charge of this and walking the walk further with us.
So for the next question, thank you, Paz. for the next question, I'm going to try to kind of combine a few questions into one, so we have the most time. So a few people are saying they're concerned about the politics behind bringing a creation care team to their parish at this polarized time. And someone even said that there's a Catholic radio that is denying that that climate is a big problem. And there's some people are wondering how to overcome that hurdle to bring this to their own parishes.
Well, I'd like to at least begin to issue that it's whether it's an issue or not. I think we can rely on Pope Francis and the Pope Benedict and Pope John Paul to say that it is a big deal and it's a legitimate activity for us. The other situation is it's as Bishop Stowe talked about, you've got to speak the truth and you've got to be, what is it? Listen passionately and speak boldly. There's a bit of that also. We've got to have the voice heard because the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor are just unrefutable. And now is the time to respond. So it may not be comfortable. Be as compassionate as you can and listen to other members of your parish. But it's time for the church to step forward and have its voice heard that the earth is hurting.
I would just support Steve's statement in that, the churches are all seeing the same politicization of many issues, and this is one of them. And it's frankly, it's not easy. And you just expect some, but it's changed quite a bit. And I think it's gradually changing, maybe not as fast as we'd like, but I would say I got much stronger pushback 2 or 3 years ago than I get now, but it's still difficult. And there's no ands, ifs, or buts. It's a difficult thing, and you just have to be ready for it.
Yeah, I want to say a little bit here. Some creation care teams, some of them are led by what I call the lonely onlys, the folks that really have a commitment to this issue, but whose parish or community is not that ready yet to get into this subject matter. Others are a group of folks, maybe 2 or 3, that are really committed. They want to work on these issues, but know that the politics of the issue might be too much for their parish at the moment. So they start with the idea of meet your parish where it is. Start them and see where the energy is. I call some of those creation care teams my garden club type of creation care teams, where they start off by creating a community garden, a Mary garden, and they start working in that way and bring in Laudato Si studies. And they move that community from a community that didn't want to deal with it because it was too political to one that starts seeing the connections between our faith and what we are supposed to be outwardly expressing. And so you do see sometimes some of these creation care teams that started off with just, I want to do some little bit of recycling, and now are doing some advocacy. So don't think that because your parish might be too conservative or they don't think they want to rock the boat, just meet them where they are, do the study of Laudato Si, communicate, and you might be surprised about what happens later.
Beautiful. Emily or Peter, can you give us a time check? How much time do we have?
Let's see, we're going to 2:05.
Okay.
Is that correct? It's 2 o'clock.
It's 2 o'clock, so we
Yes.
have 5 minutes. Peter, can you confirm that for us?
Yes, we are actually going to, yes. So we have 5 more minutes. We should wrap up. Final couple questions, maybe.
Okay. Let's see. We have a question. Do you all have experience engaging with the Knights of Columbus?
Yeah, I can start there. The Knights of Columbus gave me my start. When I first started to think about making a presentation, I had a friend of a friend who was a Knights of Columbus guy, and he invited me into their monthly meeting to give a talk. I didn't realize at this point that the Knights of Columbus tends to be a very conservative organization. But it was a wonderful threshold. They were polite listeners, and I had, I think, 60 people at it. A lot of head scratching went on at the Knights of Columbus. However, the Knights of Columbus are very dedicated to the Pope. And so I think there's progress to be made there, but understand in a lot of circumstances that they are a very conservative organization.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there are several creation care teams that have gotten funding from the Knights of Columbus at their parish, especially for the switching from one-time plastics to reusables. They have had quite a bit of success in that kind of connection.
Okay.
You all ready for the next one?
I'm ready. We're here for the next one.
All right, so Sean is interested in divestment as a strategy, and he is wondering if you all have any advice or resources for leading a divestment campaign associated with your CCT, both at the organizational level and for parishioners.
I'll pass that to Paz because I think a lot of the platform deals with that issue.
There will be a section of the platform that will have divestment. There is a Catholic divestment group that has been set up, especially with a lot of young adult leadership, looking at divestment mostly from Catholic colleges and universities. There is also some conversation about divestment not being the only tool in our bag. That we also need to be looking at, if we divest, where are we going to invest? And then that investment needs to be done in impacted investing into communities that truly need solar and wind type of power. So it is a large issue. The covenant itself does not take a position on divestment because we are a partnership organization, and the USCCB has not taken a position on it. So some of our other partners have, but given that not all of them, the covenant itself does not take a position.
And if I could just say something, I think it has to do with know your audience. And I put in that I'm from Houston. So any parish that I go to, a large percentage of people are probably oil and gas workers. And so that would be something that would not be received well. And so, and also the priest would get, kind of feedback from that. So there's things that you can approach, and there's things that they're not ready for yet. So that would say that's one that would be a very difficult thing to bring up in the type of parishes that we typically have in the Houston area.
And you have to also remember a lot of religious communities keep a little bit of funds in oil and gas in order to do corporate responsibility shareholder resolutions.
Very good. Do we have time for one more?
We have 1 minute, so a quickie maybe, Emily.
Okay, so here's a quickie for Paz. Is there a fee to join your organization?
Zero.
Zero.
Yes, we are completely free resources and free assistance. We are here to serve the Catholic Church.
That was so quick, we can do one more. Quick, Emily.
Okay, what are the dates for the Laudato Si conference in July?
July 15th through the 17th, and it is all online.
Oh, we have to, this is so hard to, let's see. Oh, here's another good one. Is there a possibility to collaborate with Poor People's Campaign and Pax Christi and the Jesuits?
Absolutely. Every creation care team needs to see what type of partnerships would work for them.
Good answer. I like it.
I'm just, as your host, I'm going to stop right there. I've put into the chat the information for the next breakout sessions. We have a 20-minute break now. I'm going to put it in again, just so we can see it again, so that it's the latest on your chat. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you to our wonderful panelists. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Any last words, Steve, Paz,
Yes,
or Roger?
yes. First of all, I want to thank everybody for their interest. The Care of Creation team is a really a vital part for your parish. Also, make sure you tune in again for this second set of breakouts, but particularly when we get back together as a whole group to hear Bishop McElroy's presentation and Jose Aguta's words. They will both be very inspiring to us. So thank you very much. 20-minute break, get some food, get renourished.
Thank you, everyone. And I saw the names, and I'm so tickled to see so many Creation Care Team folks on this. So for all of you, thank you.